Gonna talk today about my first enlightenment experience. Been waiting to release this video for a while. It's been years ago now, and there's so much to say about enlightenment and what it is and how you yourself can experience spiritual enlightenment. Um, and what does it mean? And is it even something that you just achieve, once? Are there degrees of enlightenment? Um, all of these questions we're going to answer today. I'm going to tell you a bit about my own direct experience in all of this and what it means to me today to be spiritually enlightened, or what is spiritual enlightenment in general, and how that relates to truth and consciousness. So, I guess to start with this journey, I got to take you all the way back to me being a young kid, maybe like 12, 13 years old, because now looking back at my life, it's easy to see that it's all been a spiritual experience, and it was all teaching me something about spirituality, about myself, and about life. But it wasn't always clear to me. But I have always been on the path, and you're on the path now too. The whole question is, how conscious are you of the path that you're on? So, I had started out in the Christian church. I was a youth group leader in my church, and I, some part of it deeply resonated with me. Although in some ways you could say I was inducted into it, right? I was living in Costa Rica at the time, and there were certain things about it that energetically seemed true to me. Like, I would see people get healed in this church. I saw how powerful prayer could be. Um, I saw myself heal through certain things and gain certain understandings. But at the same time, certain stuff didn't click with me about religion. I had my skepticism, right? About certain stories. Is this true? Is that true? Um, am I just believing stuff? And as I turned 16, 17, I had lost my virginity. And being a firm believer and being very religious at the time, I thought I was doing something bad, right? I had all this religious guilt around it, but also very much enjoyed having sex. So at the same time, I rationalized to myself, well, if this is wrong, then I don't want to be right. Besides that, though, there were many other reasons that started to pull me away from the church. The pastor at my church had cheated on his wife, and it was a whole big thing at the church. And even that wasn't enough for me to leave yet. I ended up going to another church after that for a while. But eventually, like, it all just seemed like a bunch of nonsense or bullshit to me, right? Like, just the belief systems. And I created the story in my head that, oh, well, people just use religion to cope with, you know, the meaninglessness of life. And really, religion is just one big copium for everybody who can't handle the fact that, like, this is all pointless, and when we die we turn to dust, and it's all empty, and like, this is way of people just kind of like feeling good about themselves. And slowly I turned to atheism. I became an atheist. Once I was an atheist, um I was kind of angry, bitter, but at the same time, I freed myself in a lot of ways. Um, just as far as belief systems. And without realizing, though, here's the key, is that I was creating a brand new belief system, right? Atheism ended up eventually being its own belief system, but I didn't realize that yet, right? I believed that there was no God. I believed that, that it was all bullshit, not realizing that at the same time, I was creating more beliefs still. Um, you know, And this went on for a while, but for a few years. But I got very, like I said, bitter, angry, depressed, even, and not knowing why. Well, I guess I did know why, right? Like, because I felt like I was missing something. It all seemed pointless, meaningless. Like, I was just this animal, right? And I was just, born to die, and I didn't ask to be born, and like it all felt so heavy. I had no way out, but I wasn't going to go back to religion, because it just didn't resonate with me. It didn't make sense anymore. Um, and I remember the way that I transitioned from that. My next step in my journey from there was years later. Um, Eventually, it came across meditation because I missed some of the spiritual aspect of church without all the belief, but I needed something spiritual. They say we all have a God-sized hole in our heart or in our being that we're trying to fill. And I had this, need to fill that, but I didn't know how. Meditation, because it's, less religion around it, resonated with me. And I got into mindfulness. I started reading books about mindfulness, practicing, labeling, paying attention to my breath, developed a mindfulness practice. And this helped me for a while. And also experimented with several psychedelics. And I remember having a conversation with one of my friends that changed my life in the direction where it went. We were on a psychedelic and we were talking about the notion of God and religion and all of this stuff. And we were talking about what is a sage. Um, and we were talking about how a sage is basically a master of the human experience who knows all things, that knows the truth, that knows everything. And, I tell my friend how there's no way to know everything, right? You can't know nothing. Like nobody knows anything, right? And this was me, eventually moving into agnosticism, from being an atheist, becoming agnostic and being like, well, for me to say there's no God, I don't really know that either, right? The same way that when I was a Christian, I claimed to know that there was a God. Um, And then, so the agnosticism started resonating more with me. And I decided, well, if you say there's a God, or if you say there isn't, you're lying because there's no possible way that you could know. And while we were talking about what a sage is, and a sage knowing the ultimate truth of all reality, I told my friend, it's like, well, you can't know. You can't know any kind of absolute ultimate truth. And what he proceeded to ask me changed my paradigm. It broke my paradigm. And he goes, well, how do you know that? It's like, what? Yeah. He goes, how do you know you can't know? You don't know if you can know or not. You might not know, but which is funny enough because the guy asking me, I don't think he realized the depth of the question he was asking me or really had an answer. Um, Kind of like spirit working through him, through us, and in that moment. But I didn't fully grasp it yet, but it did open my eyes and my mind to something new. I guess I don't know if you can know or not know. I know I don't know, but I guess I don't know if you could know. I don't see how you could know what that is. But so in my agnosticism, this this went on for a while. I remained agnostic for a long time after that, and still not really knowing. But my meditations grew deeper. I was meditating longer and longer. I was meditating not just longer and longer, but more frequently, more of a schedule. I was meditating every day. Um, Started at 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes. I would experiment with doing an hour at a time. And I had come across Leo Gura's channel of actualize.org, and he would talk a lot about meditation, and he would talk about going on these 5 and 10 day sits. And at first, I thought there's no way you could sit alone in a room for that long, for 5 days, 10 days at a time. Um, but the idea interested me, and he was a big inspiration for what would come, right? So as I played around with the idea of doing a meditation that went on for days, I just experimented with, a couple hours, um, and seeing, can I handle that? But I wanted to know the truth. And a lot of this is coming from a genuine curiosity to want to know the truth. And why do you want to know the truth? Because if there is such a thing as truth, you got to search it for the pure love and curiosity of the truth itself. Because the thing about truth is it doesn't really serve your ego. Because you might wonder, what's the point, right? Because we think we want truth so long as it brings us some sort of happiness, right? Or fulfillment or money or joy or whatever, right? But if it's pointless, are you still going to pursue it at all costs? Because you got to almost pursue truth for truth's sake. But at the same time, the agnosticism, I guess I was a little less depressed than when I was an atheist, but still not really enjoying life. Like, I just didn't get the point. And I just didn't know what to do. And I really wanted to, I felt like I was going crazy. I felt like I was going mad. I didn't know what was up. I couldn't explain my experience at all. And nothing else really seemed to matter to me anymore. I had this obsession with going deeper and digging deeper. And I wanted to do a 5-day sit. Now, my first attempt at the 5-day sit, if I remember correctly, it didn't go well. It was harder than I thought. And I had other stuff with me, I think in my car. And I just wasn't disciplined enough to do it. I think I meditated a lot, but um, ended up grabbing like a guitar I had in my car and my computer and um, doing other stuff besides meditating. So that didn't work, even though I meditated a lot. But eventually, I was upset about that. And months later, I was like, okay, we're going to do this again. We're going to try again. This time, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to have any distractions. I'm not going to bring my instrument in my car. I'm not going to kid myself. I know that, like, what I can handle, what I can't handle. So I had my phone with me, but as I started, I shut it off and I put it away. And this is now leading up to the point of this whole video, right? I'm now getting to my first enlightenment experience. And as I begin this experience, this is the night before. I'm going to bed, shut my phone off. I'm going to put it away. And my whole plan is I'm going to do 8 to 12 hours of meditating a day, an hour at a time. Um, you know, an hour at a time. I have an alarm. I'm going to like time it for an hour each time. I'm going to get up, stretch, and then sit back down, whatever. My only breaks will be to eat or use the bathroom in these 5 days. So I wake up early in the morning and I'm ready to do my first few hours. And I knew this was going to be very difficult. Again, I had already attempted this and failed. So day one, I'm waking up and I'm ready to go for it. I'm ready to dig in. I know it's going to be tough, but at least I anticipate it's going to be very hard. So as hard as the first day was, I knew it was going to be, and I made it through the first day with relative ease, you could say, even though I was like, oh, in my mind had all these thoughts like, what is the point of this? Oh my God, this is going to be forever. This is going to suck. Why am I doing this? What is the point of this? But like I said, I made it through. But now day two comes along, and day two was brutal. I got up, and my mind wanted no part of this. Like, could not fathom doing this for 5 days. Was like, this is hell. I hate this. My mind kind of like turned on me. My mind was like, what is the point of this? Are you dumb? Do you think this is going to help you in some way? How is this going to serve you in any way? You're a fucking idiot. You could be making money. You could be doing something with your career. You could be bettering your life in some way. You could be reading a book. You could be literally a list of things. And, really using bad language on myself and being like, you fucking moron, and this is fucking stupid, and you're stupid, and oh my God, please make this stop. And just the nonstop chatter and going and going and going. And to the point where some of my thoughts were just like internal screams, right? And just make it stop. And if you were to see me in the room, I'd be sitting there quiet. You wouldn't hear nothing. But in my head, just like so loud, so loud. And also my mind doing whatever it could to get me to stop, showing me images of stuff that I did not want to see, right? Imagine like the worst stuff, because my mind, your mind knows what your own weakness is. What is the worst thing for you to witness and see? And it was like all of my loved ones dying or being dead, or me dying, or like images of like imagine like images of your grandparents butt naked, right? Like just the worst stuff that you would never want to see. The most grotesque, the grossest, most evil, the most twisted, sick, disturbing images, all in an attempt to get me to stop sitting, right? Because my mind was in panic mode. It just did not want me to do this. But somehow I was connecting to a deeper power, something deep within me that I wanted to know what would happen if I did this. And I was determined to do this. So I was gonna do this no matter what. And day 2 was brutal. It was so hard. But I made it through. And we got through day 2. I go to bed. The next morning I wake up, day 3. My mind pissed. As soon as I get up, like, oh, great. Here we go. Kind of sarcastic a little bit. Oh, great. Here we go. Can't wait. Another day. We're going to do this. Can't believe we're going to fucking do this. One more time. Oh, God, help me, please. Fuck you. Fuck this. Like, I just, complaining every step of the way. Moaning and groaning. But I sat. I got on the mat. And it was a lot of the same stuff, right? Yelling, complaining, negative self-talk, all of this stuff. But as I got through halfway through the day, my mind realized like, well, now we're at the halfway point. We're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. And my mind finally begins to be like, all right, well, it realizes like, seems like we're going to do this. I can't stop you. Seems like this is what we're going to do. I have no choice. This is it. This is what we're doing. Okay, fine. Guess this is what's up. All right. And it was slowly letting go of control, but it still kept having to say something, right? It was like, okay, fine. All right. Yep. Guess this is what we're doing. But, slowly letting go. And eventually, slowly but surely, the gaps between the thoughts started increasing. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a whole minute. Eventually, my mind just stopped. It's like, okay. 30 seconds went by, a minute. All of a sudden, a few minutes had went by, and my mind had nothing to say. Literally nothing. Absolute silence. And it was the first time in my life I had ever experienced true silence of the mind. And it was beyond words. And all of a sudden, a deep understanding came to me, a deep understanding that could only be found beyond words, because there is understanding outside of language, outside of words, but you could never get there with words, right? I discovered my soul, infinity. I discovered the truth of who I am and what this is and everything that was going on. And I realized how it had been myself the whole time, playing with myself, tormenting myself, all the stuff that my mind was putting myself through, when really I was just sitting. I was just chilling in a room. And I laughed. I laughed and I cried. And it was just this deeply profound experience. And I understood deeply the yin and the yang of life, right? The life and death and nothingness and everything. And everything all at once. Even concepts that I had understood before that made deeper sense in this moment. Beautiful, perfect sense. I realized that I had always been, and that I had set this up so that I could rediscover myself and who I am through consciousness. And that there's nowhere for me to go, and that what I am is beyond this body. It is beyond the mind, right? I am currently experiencing this body, this mind, this entity, but I am the fire. I am the walls of this room. I am, well, that's it, right? I am. Anything beyond that is a story. I am. I am isness. um, and again, this is not something that I could communicate to you. Enlightenment is not something that you can read in a book and understand. It is beyond belief. It is beyond words. It's not something that the mind can wrap itself around, which is why it requires such a deep surrender of the self and of the ego, which is why the ego can't find a reason to want to pursue it, because in pursuit of it, it annihilates itself. It destroys itself. Well, it doesn't even really destroy itself. It realizes that there was never itself there to begin with. But unless you experience what I'm telling you, none of this is even really going to fully make sense. Because again, the words that I'm saying are all arrows pointing at a deeper truth, but never the truth itself. I could not and cannot, nor can anyone, put the truth into words. But see, the mistake is to believe that there is no such thing as absolute truth. Because how do you know? You might not know the absolute truth, but you don't know if it's possible or if anyone else could. You assume that if you don't have the absolute truth, that it's impossible or no one could have it. But you don't know if that's true. You truly do not know if that's true. And it's such a beautiful thing. And see, at that point, you're not done, because the mind has a way of creeping itself back in and creating more stories about it and what it is. And even right now, as I'm telling you this story, right, it's another story. And then there you can have a story about being a person who's enlightened, right? To be an enlightened person, you have to believe that you're a person at all, right? It's still put in beliefs, right? So it really is beyond words, to the point where you could even say there's no such thing as enlightenment. But to say that, oh man, it's like there's no such thing as anything. It's all a paradox, right? And there's so much to be said, and it could be talked about for infinity, because what we're talking about is infinity. There is no end to what I'm saying. But it is ultimately beyond words. To wrap up the story of the 5-day sit, the next 2 days were pretty uneventful compared to that, because I was like, wow, if this day is this powerful, I can only imagine what the 4th day and the 5th day are going to be like. which were relatively boring. They were more peaceful. I had more peace than ever since then. And since then, I've gone on to do plenty of 5-day sits and even 10-day to deepen this awareness and deepen this consciousness. And I continue to do so um, because it brings me profound joy to do so and deeper understanding. And at this point in my life, I realized that, you know, this is really where the juice is. This is where life gets good. This is like the point, right? This is why uh, I came here and incarnated into this form, was to gain a deeper understanding of myself. And all of this is possible to experience for yourself, not to just believe me, not to take my words at face value and integrate them as like a new belief system. It's like, I hope this is here to inspire you, or if you've had, you know, insights into the nature of what I'm talking about, um, you can see that this rabbit hole goes on and on and on and on. There is no real end to this. So there is no point at which you become enlightened. It's not like an on and off switch. Um, Once you have one of these experiences, there are ways of going deeper and deeper and deeper, and with more nuance and more understanding. And but if you experience for yourself, you'll realize there's just no way to get it fully into words. This is beyond words. So I invite you and to go out for yourself and test this, to pursue the truth, to ask these deep questions, to find out for yourself, what are you? What is this? What is the mind? Where do thoughts come from? What is the point of this whole experience? Why were you brought here? Can you truly answer these questions? Is there absolute answers to these questions? Right? Why do you assume that all the truth is relative? See? Why do you take that as an absolute? Is that an absolute truth? Is there such a thing as absolute truth? My claim is yes. But you don't know. You don't know if I'm lying to you. You don't know if I'm crazy, right? It's up to you to discover this for yourself. But I invite you to do so, because to me it just makes life so much more beautiful and meaningful and exciting, and really gives the whole thing such a deep purpose between, behind life and death, and all of the beauty and infinity that life has to offer. So this is the video on spiritual enlightenment, and I hope you enjoyed it. And there's so much more to say, so I'll be making more videos on this, and I'll be sure in the future to document my longer trips. I never did then because I wanted them to be for myself, um, and it was never really about making it a public thing, right? Like it's always been for me. But now I feel called to share these experiences with you guys, and answer questions that come up, because it's a challenging road, um, but it is also incredibly rewarding. So I hope you found this helpful to some extent, or inspiring, and thank you for sharing this time with me. Grateful to have you here on this journey with me. And until next time, my friends, stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed, and stay connected. And until next time, peace out.